Hi mechanics, welcome back to my channel Monkey Wrench. I'm Kelly, the monkey with the wrench. Have you ever had a problem with your weed eater that looked something like this? This is one of my personal weed eaters. It's an Echo, and I've had an issue. I broke the shaft. Isn't that something? What happened was it got bent a little, and I tried to bend it back. It got bent a lot, and I tried to bend it back, and it snapped. It happens from time to time. I get these machines in my shop. Someone will have the same problem, which is why I keep spares. There's another one, identical. This one has a bad throttle cable. It has one of these garbage heads where you stick a zip tie looking thing through that's 8 inches long, and you use it till it wears down, and then you got to feed a new one in. And the carburetor was no good. And I was going to rebuild it. I was going to get a new carburetor. I was going to pull the throttle cable off of another one, put it on, but I didn't have a head that would fit on there. So by the time I got a head and a carburetor, I was looking at 60 or 80 bucks. So it's been sitting there for parts. And thankfully it is, because this is my favorite weed eater. I also have another Echo. But as you can see, it's one of those curved shaft ones. And again, it has one of those crappy heads on it. So, my other personal weed eater is this stihl. I'm not real big on stihl. I know a lot of people love them. I prefer Echo, but there's my other weed eater behind the bike. And it's a curved shaft. I don't like curved shafts. They're not balanced right. You got to bend over to use them half the time. So anyway, what we're working on today is I'm going to show you how easy it is. If you have a spare that's the same size, we are going to replace this shaft with this shaft right here. What I'm going to do here, we have 3 connections. This is your throttle cable that connects to your carburetor. I've already disconnected that. It just slides through. So I'm going to pull that out of the way. Okay, we have a plug here, which I'm going to use 2 hands to unplug, but it's just a spade connection. You unplug that, and then right here, you take this bolt out. This is your ground wire. Take the bolt out, put the bolt back in. We're going to replace that with the other. Actually, probably what I'm going to do when I get this apart is take this throttle and everything off, put it on the new shaft. But anyway, then we're going to go ahead and remove these 2 bolts, and believe it or not, this whole head just going to slide right off. And we're going to do the same thing here on the bottom. We've got 2 bolts here, and we have a screw here, and this whole head assembly will come off. So I'll show you that in just a minute. What we have here is a star. I think it's a T13 or something. You'll just have to find one that fits. Easy enough. Take this bolt out, right like so. Take your ground wire off. Should have a round fitting like that the bolt goes through. Put your bolt back in. I am a firm believer that if you put the bolts back where you took them out, you won't lose them. You don't have to make it tight, just put it back in so you don't lose them. And take apart your wire. There we go, that's off. Now you're going to need an 8mm, and I've already loosened these. Take this bolt out, and this bolt. Okay, now that our throttle, our ground, and our power here that comes from our switch is disconnected, we've taken out these 2 bolts. Watch this. Just twist it as you go, wiggle while you work, and there it is. The whole head comes out. Now, these pieces here, they come out as well, so don't lose those. The top one here fits into this groove, this hole, and the bottom one is a different shape. It's a rectangle that goes horizontally where this one will go the opposite way. So you can't put them in incorrectly. Let's see if I can show you that together. Make sure we're in frame. You see how one is going up and down and the other one's going crossways like that, and the other one goes up and down? That's how you know you can't put them in incorrectly. Just put it back in place. Make sure you push it up. Put the other one back in place. Make sure you push it down so that it's in those little grooves. And we can take this entire head and we can put it on another machine. Now, the only reason I'm not just doing that, like I said, the throttle cable on this one was bad. I've already taken that apart. I'm sure that's fine. But I'm basically just going to make sure I take this shaft, including the throttle setup. I'm going to take that all off, swap it over to here, and we're going to go ahead and put it on. Now my shaft is completely free. The old one is broken. Let me get my same here. Now these you don't have to take all the way out. Just take them most of the way. Grab your Phillips head or flathead. Either will work. This one I usually take all the way out, and I don't want to lose that for the moment. And then basically all I'm going to do is give it a twist, and it comes right off. Simple, easy peasy. I'm going to put my little screw back in just so I don't lose it. Even though I'm going to be doing this project, it's easy. I'll go inside and take a break for 5 minutes. I don't know. So there's our shaft. Okay, we have it off of both ends. Now what you'll find at the bottom of the shaft, you see that sticking out. This is the bit that the motor spins. Okay, and inside of your head, see if we can go outside where we can see. You should be able to see that in there, I can't see because it's too bright, but in there is the square piece that the shaft goes in. So if you're having trouble putting it on, you might want to wiggle it, push it a little bit, wiggle it until it goes back into place. You'll know it's back into place because the screw right here that we took out on my thumb will line up with the hole. If we can find it. It'll line up with that hole right there. That's it. That's the only hole that's on the tip of this thing. So you'll know that it's lined up, it's in all the way. And after you do that, it's the same thing on this end. Okay, in there is the same hole, that square hole that the head will slide into. See if I can show you it. I don't know. But there's another square in there, and the same thing happens on this end. That square fits in there. Wiggle it if you have to, turn it a little until it finds its way in the hole, slide it up. You'll be able to tell if it's a used one. You'll be able to tell about how far it goes up. You'll be able to see those marks where it was. Let me get this one apart real quick and show you how I can put it back together. Now, even though the shop's a mess, that's the old head that needed a new carburetor and all. There's my two shafts. There's the broken one, and there's the good one. Now, what I did was I loosened this bolt, which sat right here. I slid that off. Then I slid this. This is your foam handle that goes right over top. I slid that off. And now I'm down to removing the throttle, the trigger setup. I took this screw and loosened it almost all the way, and then I just loosened these a little bit. And what happens here, if I can put the camera down and possibly show you without breaking something, that's importante. Let's back that up a little. Okay. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to just slide this off the end without taking it apart, and it should stay together. The reason for that is inside of this handle is springs and your wiring and all that good stuff. So I just slid it off. Now I'm going to set that to the side gently. I'm going to take this old broken handle out of here. And if you ever wondered what was inside of one of these, it's a metal casing with a plastic sleeve that's flexible. And then inside of that sleeve is just this basically flex rod. That's the correct length. That's both of them laying there. And they're just that easy to switch over. Now this is the new, or the used one that I'm going to be using. I've just loosened up these two screws. This was loose already, and I'm just sliding this out of here. If you're like me, you'll keep spare parts, extra parts laying around. I'll keep this head laying around. I'll keep all of that. And basically what I want to do now, gently, so that I don't mess anything up, is just slide our trigger system back onto the new shaft. Okay, and if you do it right and you don't shake it and you don't bounce it and it works, you'll be able to not pull the trigger, pull the safety, the trigger will work. And when you do that, hopefully you can see, I can't tell whether I'm in frame or not. I need a cameraman. You can tell when you pull the trigger. You see how that's still moving? So my trigger assembly stayed completely together. I'm basically going to push it back up about where I can see the line here on the shaft where I took the old one off. And I'm basically just going to tighten this back on. It may not be in its exact correct position. You may have to loosen it in order to adjust it correctly, but we can do that after the fact. This third one, or the middle one, I had to loosen pretty well. That's what stops it from going sideways. Okay, and then I'm just gonna tighten this. Basically, when I'm moving this thing around, I don't want it to come apart. That's all. Like I said, I may have to loosen those, hold the handle, and twist it to where it needs to be, but for right now, it's good. Now, before you do anything else, you have to feed your foam back on. Your foam just basically slides on, and it holds this part in place, and your wires go through there. So just slide that back on best you can. Try not to rip it. You get the point. I need to move it down on the floor so I can put some downward pressure on it, slide it up. Then this just goes back on there. The wires go in there. It gets tightened. I'll show it to you in a second. Okay. So I just stood this thing up and used my fingertips to push till it went down where it's supposed to be. Then this, you feed that stuff back through it. That just goes on the end. Okay. And you're going to slide it back down in place. And again, this all might have to be twisted. It may have to go that way a little. It may have to go that way a little. So I'm not going to do much with that right now. I'm going to get this old motor out of the way. And this is the motor that I used. This is the one we pulled off the broken shaft. And basically, and make sure you're in frame. Let me stand you up here just a little bit more. I can't really get too much closer, but you get the point. I'm going to take this shaft. I'm going to just slide it back in the way it's supposed to go. There's little to no room in this shop, but you see I'm just holding it and twisting it until it goes into place. If you're not sure if it's all the way in, it might not be. Pull it out a little, give it a twist, push it back, just keep playing with it. And then basically what you can do, oh, I forgot, yeah, we're definitely not in. Where's my rag? We're definitely not in because the shaft is still on the floor. So I'm going to get a rag to clean my finger. I'm going to turn this around temporarily. Again, don't drop anything because I don't have the bolts back in it and tight yet. I'm just turning that around where you will be able to see a little bit. Man, this stuff is sort of a pain in the ass. Can't get anything to balance. I really need 5 hands in here. Now I gotta see if you're in view. Because now I'm going to take this threaded piece, that's flex piece. I'm going to clean it off, make sure there's no dust and dirt from the floor in there. You can grease it up if you want to while you're in it. Both ends are the same. It's just a square end on both sides. There's nothing special about it, so it doesn't matter which way you feed it through. I'm just going to feed it back through. And you'll know it went completely in the head if there's very little to none left sticking out the end. So if you put this end in first, if you take that coil helix out of there and you put this end in all the way, then you know you're good to go. Now all I have to do is straighten out my handles. May have to loosen them, twist them a little bit, put my 2 bolts back in here, tighten everything up, and we're in the head correctly. And what's left here is going to be putting the correct head back on. And in my case, it was easier to replace that head with the other one than to buy one. So basically, again, all I'm going to do is feed this back on, and you may have to twist it. I can see by this line here how far that should come up. So I'm just going to pull it out and in. I can also see that the screw here goes in this screw hole, and that's probably what's stopping us, so I'm backing that out. And I can see the line here where the old head went to. So I'm just going to try and feed that on until it finds its way onto there, and then I can put my bolt back in. I'm going to tighten everything up, and I'll be back in a second to show you that it works. Alright, so I got my throttle cable hooked back up. It just slides right in there. I got my wire hooked up here. I put my ground back on. I tightened everything that needed to be tightened. I twisted it to where it needed to be. I tightened the end on. Now let's just see if everything works the way it should. I know there was nothing wrong with the motor. It's the one that I use every day. So it should start right up. You can see. I'm hearing a little bit of vibration right here. I'm hearing a little bit of vibration right here. So I'm going to take the head back off and make sure that the plastic insert is in there correctly. But as you can see, everything's back to normal. I can use it that way all I want. I'll figure out what the vibration is. If the plastic sleeve is inside the way it's supposed to, which I expect it will be, I will probably pull that rod, this flex rod, just like this one, out and swap it with this one, because I don't remember which one was the original and which one went in which one. They could be slightly different. But you can see this, that's the broken one right there, and that's the plastic rod I'm talking about through the inside, the plastic sleeve. But that's it. You can swap the heads, you can swap the motors, you can swap just about anything you want, and everything's going to run fine for you. So thanks for stopping by. Hit the like button on the way out the door if you could. It's somewhere between my chin and my balls. Subscribe if you haven't. We're already almost 1,500. Oh, I think we broke 1,500 this morning. So we're growing like a weed. And hopefully no weed whacker comes and messes up the channel. So thanks for stopping by. See you soon. Alright, just an addendum to the video. I was feeling and hearing a little bit of vibration from in here, but I used it for about a minute or so and the noise went away. So that noise is now gone, and I'm just going to show you. I haven't done anything to it. I didn't pull it back apart. I'm going to show you that everything works right. You can hear that noise was no longer there. It sounded like it was slapping or vibrating, but it's good. Back in business. So thanks for watching. Come on back soon. Every Wednesday and Saturday at 8 a.m. is a new video.